Good morning. I trust everybody had a great weekend. I personally was pretty happy that we got lots of rain. Our grass needed it, and now we have to mow it probably. Uh, Also, those of us that were able to join the group for the Reds game, YMCA at the Reds game, that was a lot of fun just having folks on the field. We had a couple board members participating and their families, and others that joined us throughout the game. So those that were able to attend, thank you for coming. Those that missed out, you may want to make plans next year to be part of this event. This morning we have Meredith, who is going to be talking to us about listening first. So I'll turn it over to Meredith.
Hi, I'm Meredith Griffin, and I'm the Assistant Competitive Aquatic Director at the Powell-Crosley branch. And today I want to talk to you about building relationships. We all know that relationships are the heart of life itself. They shape and transform us. And as Y staff members, we're committed to building positive, respectful, and transformative relationships. Unfortunately, we sometimes let our busyness get in the way of doing this. We rush our conversations, assume meaning or intentions with the person we're speaking with. We interrupt the speaker and even spit out prescriptions for what we think the other person should be doing. Today I'm going to review some of the skills from a concept and course called Listen First. And those should help us to slow down and be more intentional as we build and maintain respectful relationships. Now, I know many of you are familiar with Listen First, even if you haven't taken the formal course. I'm just going to highlight the basic concept and skills and then encourage you to incorporate them into your daily interactions with anyone and everyone at the Y and beyond. So this is something that we're pretty familiar with. Our three focal points in our Y work: relationships, belonging, and achievement. We strive to strengthen our community and transform lives through these three areas of focus. But it really all starts with relationships. We can't create a sense of belonging or promote meaningful relationships without first having positive and respectful relationships. So what is Listen First, and what does that have to do with relationship building? Listen First is a spirit of respect for relationships, and the spirit of Listen First is more important than the specific communication skills, although the skills reveal the spirit. Using Listen First conveys respect and genuine interest in the other person and makes them feel valued and understood. I think if everyone in the world were to use Listen First skills, we might not be in some of the fixes that we are today. The skills are simple but take practice to make into a habit. And Listen First can be used by anyone in any position at any time. This is not just something for member experienced staff or for us to use with prospective members. It's just as beneficial with fellow staff and with program participants of any age. I work with teenagers every day, and sometimes they are not the most conversational. And I can tell you firsthand that Listen First skills absolutely help bring out some of the interpersonality and information from teens. Using the skills and observing the spirit of Listen First can be a cornerstone for a relationship-based organizational culture like the one we're striving to develop here in Cincinnati. To using Listen First, it's not usually how we talk. Listen First takes a little bit of extra time when we're having a conversation, and true listening can be really difficult. But probably one of the biggest challenges is that we as Y staff members really want to help people. That's why we're here. We want to be transformational. But in order to do so, we tend to take a few steps ahead and get to prescribing or telling people what they need rather than listening to them and forming a partnership with them. Have you ever stopped listening to someone in a conversation because you started focusing on what you were going to say next, or because you thought of a personal story that you wanted to share with them, even though they were the focus of the conversation? That's a challenge to us in developing our Listen First habit. So here are the 7 skills involved with Listen First. We're not going to go through all of these today. I'm going to target just 4 key skills. First 4 of these help gather information, and 3 involve sharing information. They're all beneficial, and I'll provide this as a cue card for you to use afterward. And first that I want to draw your attention to, start with open-ended questions. Open-ended questions can't be answered with one word or phrase, that they're not yes or no. They require some elaboration. And these can be really powerful because you're inviting the other person to share and connect with you. Just using this tool alone can be really effective in building relationships. They might start out with something like, tell me about, or how do you feel about? What are your thoughts? Once that the person you're talking to has responded and elaborated, you're going to reflect back to them what they said. It requires you to listen very carefully, and not just to what they say, but how they're saying it and what they're meaning. By offering the reflections, you're checking in with them, showing them that you're paying attention, you're interested in them, and that you want to understand. At first, using reflections can feel a little bit mechanical and repetitive if you're just parroting back to them what they said. But over time, you'll develop your own way of giving a reflection, and use your own language and feel more natural. They might start off by saying something like, what I hear you saying, or if I understand you correctly, or it sounds like. You'd string a saying, and then you would want to go on to the next step, which is to affirm them. An affirmation acknowledges their effort, and it also shows that you've listened very carefully to them and are trying to understand them more deeply, because their affirmation is simple, specific, personal, genuine, and encouraging to them. It might start off, I commend you for, or you've really worked hard toward, or you've really thought carefully about this. Once you've affirmed them, the last of the 4 steps I want to highlight is asking permission and sharing options. And if someone's come to you with a question or looking for some assistance based on your knowledge and experience, it's important not to jump ahead a few steps and tell them what you think they should or need to do. In fact, I would avoid using the word should or need at all. You don't want to take ownership away from that person. You want to maintain your partnership. When you tell someone what you think they should or need to do, you take that ownership and assume a posture of authority rather than partnership. Remember that you're assisting the person and partnering with them because you're developing a true relationship rather than just telling them something. Remember to keep your options simple as well, not to overwhelm them. And key skills that you can use really any time. Using the listen first spirit and skills is appropriate in just about any situation. The notable exception, of course, is during an emergency. You want to activate the branch EMS. You do not want to reflect back to them what they've told you. But listen first can be particularly effective when addressing conflict. Letting someone talk out what they're feeling, what their issues are, and then working through it together. It's also very effective on tours with orientations for new members, staff interviews even, or goal-setting sessions with members or program participants. Practice really is the key to making habits out of these skills, and in any of these situations, listen first can be effective, but in order for it to be relationship building, you really want to take your time and practice. I encourage you to practice with not just members, but fellow staff, with friends, or even family. And if you've ever tried this with a spouse or significant other, you know that at first, while you're learning the skills, you might get some pretty interesting feedback. The skills in Listen First and practice them a little bit deeper. The YMCA has 2 options of courses. The first is an online e-learning course through the LCDC called Foundations of Listen First. And the second one is a full-day course, in-person course, that is taught at regional training events, Introduction to Listen First. I would encourage you to look into each of those and at the very least take that simple online course. And I challenge you to make the spirit of Listen First a priority in each interaction, keeping in mind our desire to build respectful and transformative relationships. Remember to ask open-ended questions, provide reflections, affirm the person you're speaking with, and ask permission to offer options when appropriate. Continue to be relationship builders by listening first and continuing to listen always. Thanks.
Thanks, Meredith. That's a great reminder for all of us to focus in on connecting with individuals. And a great reminder also how important it is to have the kind of intentionality necessary to listen first. Jesus did this often and very intentionally with people around him. To his friends, he said, hey, let all the kids come and be part of this work that I'm doing. To the women, he said, I want to have a conversation with you, even though the culture of his time said you weren't supposed to. He spoke to the sick. He spoke to individuals who were Roman soldiers. He spoke to prostitutes. He spoke to just about anybody. And it wasn't just him doing the talking. There was a lot of listening. If you want to get a sense of that, you may want to read the story of the woman at the well, where he asks a question and then just listens and then responds to questions. So there was this never-ending interest on the part of Jesus to listen and to connect with people at the relationship level, not at the transactional, not so that he could make some sort of deal with, but to really connect with individuals. So this week, let's look for opportunities to connect with each other, to connect with those that are members at the relationship level and those of our colleagues who work with us every day. And let's practice to listen first as we connect with each other at the transformational level. Let me pray for us. God, thank you for the opportunity that you give us to be part of something bigger than ourselves, and that we do so at the relationship level, at the listen first level. Thank you for the opportunity that you give us to connect with people from all walks of life, with infants, with kids, with junior hires and teenagers, and stay-at-home moms and professionals, and seniors and retirees, and everybody in between. I just pray that you give us wisdom so that we can listen first more often as we engage with individuals with an interest to help transform their lives. Thank you for those who serve with us here in Southern Ohio, Northern Kentucky, around the country and around the world in the movement we call the YMCA. Amen. Thanks, everybody.